that Harley, that Ducati, that Triumph. You think those are three completely different companies, three different engineering philosophies, three different souls. They're not. Here's what the industry doesn't put in the brochure. That Triumph 400, built in India by Bajaj, the same Indian manufacturer that just took full control of KTM after its collapse. That Ducati, owned by Volkswagen, the same boardroom that signs off on the VW Golf signs, off on your Panigale. And that Harley X350, the one they're aggressively selling in the world's biggest motorcycle market, built by a Chinese manufacturer called QJ Motor. The same company, under the same parent, that owns Benelli. None of that is a rumor. All of it is verifiable. None of it is in the brochure. I've spent weeks following the money, and I found three things. The first two will change how you look at every bike in a showroom. The third one, I'll get to that later, and that's the one that actually matters. Let me show you how this works. Let's say I run a holding company. I have investors. My job is to find undervalued assets, buy them, make them worth more, and sell. I start looking at industries, and I keep landing on motorcycles. Here's why. I find a mid-sized motorcycle brand, loyal audience, consistent revenue. Maybe the founder is tired. Maybe the brand needs investment it can't raise alone. I buy it for 3 to 5 times annual earnings. Now here's where it gets interesting. I go buy 9 more. Same profile, same price. Then I put them all under one roof. One legal team handles every contract. One supplier negotiates every component deal. One engine platform, shared across every brand in the portfolio, replaces 10 separate development programs I'd otherwise need to fund. I bought each brand at 3 to 5 times earnings. But a portfolio, multiple brands, shared infrastructure, multiple revenue streams, that sells for 12 to 20 times earnings. I didn't make a single motorcycle better. I just reorganized the spreadsheet, and the valuation multiplied. That is not a hypothetical. That is exactly what Stefan Pierer did with KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas, and it is exactly what Volkswagen did with Ducati. Pierer bought the bankrupt wreckage of KTM in 1992, 160 workers, an empty factory in Mattighofen, Austria. Most people assumed it was finished. By the 2000s and 10s, KTM was the biggest motorcycle brand in Europe, so he kept going. 2013, BMW had bought Husqvarna in 2007 for 93 million euros, lost an estimated 192 million on it in 6 years, and wanted out. Pierer took it. 2019, GasGas, the Spanish off-road brand with real racing heritage, collapsed. Pierer bought it. 3 brands, 3 national identities, 3 separate dealership networks selling 3 completely different stories. The KTM 690 Duke, the Husqvarna 701 Supermoto, the GasGas SM 700, 3 model names, 3 paint schemes, 3 separate marketing campaigns aimed at 3 different types of rider. 1 engine, 1 frame, 1 suspension package. Cycle World put all 3 on a dyno. Their conclusion: the components aren't just similar, they are, in multiple cases, physically identical. The same ECU flash from an aftermarket tuner works on all 3 bikes. Because underneath the plastics, it is the same bike. Now, Volkswagen ran the same playbook at the premium end. In April 2012, Audi, a VW subsidiary, bought Ducati for 860 million euros. Under VW ownership, Ducati grew. Revenue crossed €1 billion in 2024. The Panigale 5.4 is legitimately one of the best motorcycles ever made. But in 2017, when VW tried to sell Ducati to cover its Dieselgate losses, attracting bids from Harley-Davidson, Bajaj, KKR, and Bain Capital, it was the German worker union representatives on the VW supervisory board who blocked the sale. The people who ride Ducatis had no voice in that room. The people who build Volkswagen Golfs did. That is what corporate ownership looks like from the inside. When the empire falls, here's what the consolidation model does when it fails. It doesn't take one brand down, it takes all of them, at the same time, with no separation between them. By mid-2024, Bajaj Mobility was in serious trouble. Revenue down 27% in 6 months, somewhere between 265,000 and 267,000 unsold motorcycles sitting in warehouses, tying up an estimated 440 million euros in cash. And new Euro 5+ emissions regulations were coming, which meant those bikes were about to become even harder to sell. November 26, 2024, KTM AG files for judicial restructuring. The stock dropped 45% in a single day. It had already lost 84% of its value that year, Creditors filed roughly €2 billion in claims, dealers who couldn't get parts, suppliers who couldn't get paid, riders sitting on bikes with uncertain warranty coverage. And here's the part that matters. Husqvarna had no separate legal entity, no independent balance sheet, no ability to survive on its own, because it had never needed one. Gas was identical. When the holding structure cracked, every brand cracked simultaneously. The rescue came from Bajaj Auto, the Indian manufacturer that had been building KTM's entry-level bikes in their Pune factory since 2011. Bajaj stepped in with hundreds of millions in financing, took full control of the group in late 2025, and restructured hard. Workforce cut from over 5,000 to under 4,000. The Gas Spanish headquarters shuttered. The entire bicycle division, including felt bicycles, wound down. On January 13, 2026, Bajaj Mobility AG was renamed. It is now called Bajaj Mobility AG, KTM, the Orange Legend. The brand that put European off-road motorcycling on the world map is now a Bajaj subsidiary. Not because Bajaj did anything wrong, they saved it. Without Bajaj, there is no KTM in 2026, but the brand you thought was an independent Austrian manufacturer, run by passionate people for passionate riders, was a leveraged holding company listed on the Vienna Stock Exchange, dependent on an Indian manufacturer 12,000 kilometers away to keep the lights on. The story you were sold and the company you were actually buying from were not the same thing. The human story. I want to tell you about four guys. In 2015, they built a YouTube channel about cars and motorcycles from a shared garage. No budget, just cameras and genuine enthusiasm. They called it Donut Media. By 2021, they had 5.8 million subscribers and a cult following, the kind of audience that tattoos your logo on their arm. In November 2021, a company called Recurrent Ventures acquired Donut Media. Recurrent had just raised $300 million from Blackstone, the private equity firm. The promise: all four founding members stay, nothing changes. Less than 3 years later, 3 of the 4 founders had left. Within weeks of each other, the audience went with them. 2 hosts launched independent channels and hit 1.6 million subscribers combined almost immediately. Because the audience was never following the brand, they were following the people. And when the holding company optimized the people out, it found out, too late, that what it had paid for was the trust, not the name. The motorcycle industry has been running the same experiment with the same results. Eric Buell spent his career building motorcycles nobody else would build, unconventional, zero compromise for convention. Harley Davidson absorbed his company, took what it needed, and shut it down in October 2009. One announcement: around 200 people out of work. Alta Motors built the best electric motocross bike the world had ever seen. Professionally endorsed, race-proven. Harley Davidson invested in early 2018 and walked away just months later to build their own EV program. Alta ceased operations in October 2018. The technology died with the company. Victory Motorcycles was built from scratch by Polaris over 20 years, a genuine American V-twin, real engineering investment. Shut down January 9, 2017, not because it had failed, but because Polaris also owned Indian Motorcycle and couldn't justify running both. The pattern is always the same. A holding company acquires something people love. The people who built it leave or get optimized out. What remains is the badge without the soul. A Husqvarna with a KTM engine. A Benelli built in China, a Norton rescued by India, a Triumph 400 assembled by the same company that now owns KTM. None of those outcomes are catastrophic on their own. All of them are real. If you've never looked at your garage this way before, you're not alone. Hit subscribe, because we're going to keep pulling at this thread, and it goes much deeper than what we've covered so far. How the East bought the West. Benelli was founded in 1911, Pesaro, Italy, by a widow named Teresa Benelli, who opened a repair shop after her husband died to support her 6 sons. Those sons turned it into a racing dynasty, Grand Prix victories. The 6-cylinder Say of 1972, still considered one of the most beautiful machines ever built. In 2005, a Chinese manufacturer called Qianjiang bought it. Design and marketing stayed in Pesaro. Manufacturing moved to Wenling, Zhejiang Province, China. And then something nobody expected happened. The Benelli TRK 502, designed in Italy, built in China, became the best-selling motorcycle in Italy in the first half of 2022. Not the BMW GS, not the KTM Adventure, the Benelli. Priced significantly below its European competitors, it outsold everything. Qianjiang is now partially owned by Geely, the Chinese conglomerate that also owns Volvo Cars, Lotus, and a stake in Aston Martin. Your Benelli and a Volvo XC90 are, in a corporate sense, the same family. Now, here's the line that stops Harley riders cold. Harley-Davidson's X350, the bike they're pushing hard in China, the world's biggest motorcycle market, is built by QJ Motor, a brand owned by the Qianjiang Group, the same corporate family that owns Benelli. The bar and shield, built by the same parent company as an Italian heritage brand bought by China in 2005. Moto Morini, Grand Prix history going back to the 1940s, sold to China's Zhongnen Group in 2018 for just under 10 million euros. SWM, the Swedish-Italian trials brand dormant since 1984, revived by China's Shineray Group in 2014. They took the old Husqvarna factory in Varese that Pierre had closed, and now assemble bikes there with roughly 90% Chinese components. The Morbidelli name, meaningful to anyone who watched Agostini race, acquired by a Chinese-backed entity in April 2024, now selling 125 cubic centimeter commuter bikes. And CF Moto, a Chinese manufacturer that doesn't buy heritage names, it partners with them. Their joint venture with KTM produces the LC8C parallel twin, used in the KTM 790 and 890 range. The CF Moto 800 MT runs that exact engine, different badge, $4,000 to $5,000 cheaper. In 2025, CF Moto moved over 250,000 motorcycles globally, up 48% in North America alone. David Alonso won the 2024 Moto3 World Championship on a CF Moto, the first Chinese constructor to win a Grand Prix title in history. This is not a prediction, this is the market right now. The third thing. I told you at the start there were three things. The first, the brands you think are different are often the same bike. The second, when the holding company fails, everything it owns fails simultaneously. The third is different, and it's the one that changes the question you should be asking every time you walk into a dealership. Platform sharing is, in isolation, an engineering decision. It means KTM and Husqvarna share an engine. You can work with that. You can make an informed choice. But the ownership model that platform sharing enables, one entity controlling multiple brands, multiple price points, multiple identities across an entire market, that model has a next stage. Think about what genuine control over 4 or 5 motorcycle brands actually means. You control the entry-level buyer, the premium buyer, the off-road buyer, the heritage buyer. You set the pricing floor across the entire segment. You decide what gets developed and what gets canceled. You decide which brand survives an economic downturn and which one gets quietly discontinued. Victory wasn't discontinued because it was bad. It was discontinued because the same company owned Indian Motorcycle and couldn't justify both. The Victory rider had no vote, one boardroom decision, and the brand ceased to exist. Now scale that up. As emissions regulations tighten and development costs keep rising, every independent manufacturer faces the same equation. Find a corporate parent or die. The brands that survive will be the ones absorbed into portfolios. The ones that don't will follow Buell, Alta, Modus, and Victory into history. Which means within the next decade, the motorcycle market could be 3 or 4 entities. Bajaj Mobility, controlling the off-road and mid-displacement segment. Volkswagen with Ducati at the premium end. Piaggio, holding Aprilia and Moto Guzzi. The Chinese conglomerates owning the Italian heritage names and manufacturing the entry-level bikes for everyone else. Harley survives, they always survive, but increasingly through outsourcing and partnership. The X350, built in China. The electric brand needing a further $100 million credit line from Harley by 2024 just to keep operating. Triumph survives too. One of the few brands still genuinely independent at the premium end, but even Triumph partnered with Bajaj to build its 400 cubic centimeter line, the same Bajaj that now owns KTM. Independence at the top, partnership at the bottom. The line blurs a little more every year. Royal Enfield, owned by Eicher Motors in India, is doing this better than almost anyone. The Interceptor 650, the Continental GT, the Super Meteor, the Shotgun. 4 bikes, 1 platform. But each one feels like a genuine character, not a rebadge. That is disciplined platform sharing done with integrity. And none of these companies are required to tell you which boardroom makes the final call on whether your brand exists next year. The logo still looks the same. The dealership still sells it the same way. The website still talks about racing heritage and engineering passion and the open road. But here's the thing nobody says out loud. You're not choosing between brands anymore. You're choosing between portfolios. Here's the honest version of where this leaves you. Consolidation doesn't automatically mean the bike gets worse. The KTM 890 Duke is exceptional. Bajaj saving KTM is genuinely good news. The Benelli TRK 502 became Italy's best seller on pure merit. Ducati under Volkswagen has had the best decade in the brand's history. Platform sharing isn't the enemy. Sometimes it's the only thing keeping a brand alive. But you deserve to know the difference between what you're being sold and what you're actually buying. You deserve to know that the Swedish heritage costs $200 more and shares a frame with the Austrian. That the Italian brand on the tank hasn't had an Italian factory since 2005. That the American icon building bikes for China is doing it in a factory owned by the same parent company as a brand a widow started in Pesaro in 1911. We stopped trusting banks after 2008. We stopped trusting car makers after the emissions scandals. Motorcycle culture has, until now, mostly stayed outside that conversation. Because the people who buy bikes tend to believe in the machine on a level that goes past rational consumer logic. That belief is worth something, which means it's worth protecting, which means it's worth being honest about when it's being used against you. So, one question. Does it change how you feel about your bike, knowing another brand runs the same engine under a different badge? Or does the ride speak for itself, regardless of who owns the holding company? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone. And if this is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe, because we're not done, not even close.